More on our story on the chief prosecutor's recent trip to Pagan on board a boat with a criminal defendant she's investigating. We take a look at who knew what and when, and the AG's position on his criminal chief's credibility and judgment. In a phone interview last Friday, July 5th, Attorney General Joey Cnmi'S said he had not been aware that Chief Prosecutor Shelley Neal would be traveling to the Northern Islands on a boat operated by former Deputy Police Commissioner Ambrosio Ogumuro. Ogumuro is currently facing criminal charges related to the police escort he allegedly ordered to assist former AG Ed Buckingham in avoiding service of a penal summons. He is also the subject of ongoing investigations that Neal oversees involving alleged misappropriations of government funds.
I was not aware that he would be a captain on the boat. I am aware that he has a boat. I am aware that there are others that have boats, and that they could have ridden on somebody else's boat.
At the time, Cnmi'S said he didn't know the extent of Neal's knowledge about who would be piloting that boat. We followed up this week after he had a chance to speak with her.
Did she know prior to the trip that Mr. Ambrosio Ogumuro would be operating the boat?
She wasn't sure. She was not sure, but she eventually found out. Yes.
At what point did she find out?
I believe that she was going to either board or she was about to head over there.
Neal herself told KSPN in a phone interview this week that she learned Ogumuro would be operating the boat after the AG asked her to check and find out. She would not say, however, when that happened, but it may have been as early as Monday, July 1st, 2 days before the trip. According to multiple reliable sources, Public Auditor Attorney George Hasselback contacted Cnmi'S that day to inform him about what was then considered a rumor that the chief prosecutor may be going to Pagan on a boat captained by Ogumuro. Hasselback is currently prosecuting Ogumuro and declined to comment on the matter at all. Asked if he had any concerns about Neal's judgment in boarding that boat, Cnmi'S says this.
It's unfortunate that there have been questions as to the appropriateness of her traveling to Pagan in a boat that is captained by a defendant. My response is that is what happened, but she did not compromise in any way, shape or form any investigation or her credibility or her integrity. I'm confident about that.
What assurances did she give you that there were no communications with the defendant and that there wouldn't be any questions about about even the appearance of impropriety afterwards?
I'm relying on her professionalism, on her experience as a prosecutor, on our conversations.
KSPN asked Cnmi'S if he would have gone on that boat had he been presented with similar circumstances.
I know what the rules require of me, and I'm governed by those rules, and I would act appropriately.
So you would get on the boat, or you wouldn't?
On the boat?
If it was you as our Attorney General.
Depending on the circumstances, I could have. Okay, I could have. But then again, hypothetical questions I prefer not to respond to. I will say this, that we know what the rules are, and we know what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do. And I would not engage in any conversation with a criminal defendant, period.
And despite concerns raised by DPS Commissioner James De Leon Guerrero about how Neal's trip may impact ongoing investigations, Cnmi'S says Neal will retain her position as criminal chief and will continue to oversee the Interagency Task Force on Public Corruption and White-Collar Crime.
But in your view, should DPS continue to trust her and rely on her for legal advice and to sign off on arrest warrants, even if they pertain potentially to Mr. Ogumuro?
Yes.
In a phone interview, Commissioner De Leon Guerrero says he respects the AG's decision to keep Neal as chief prosecutor, but he continues to have concerns that he intends to raise with the AG and partner law enforcement agencies. Meanwhile, Neal declines to disclose how much she paid for her trip to Pagan, but KSPN obtained some quotes. Traveling to the Northern Islands is almost always an expensive endeavor, in large part because of the cost of fuel and the distance and labor involved. In a phone interview on Monday, Neal refused to reveal what she paid for the trip, and she has not responded to email inquiries about why. In an interview defending the chief prosecutor, Attorney General Joey Cnmi'S says the trip wasn't free.
She paid for that trip. Okay, she wanted to go. She wanted to see the Northern Islands. Honestly, I wouldn't mind going, to the Northern Islands myself.
Do you know how much she paid for it?
Not exactly, but I'm sure I can get that information to you. Okay. I'm sure it's a couple $100.
But as it turns out, the actual value of the trip is much greater than just a couple $100s. The Northern Ireland's mayor's office routinely charters trips to Pagan to deliver supplies to residents. Mayor staff say a 5-day boat ride can cost around $7,500, depending on which vessel is available. The Division of Fish and Wildlife also goes on regular trips to Pagan. Staff there estimate that a 2-day boat trip can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000, and double that for 5 days. A 5-day private charter on the Super Emerald passenger boat will cost on average about $1,000 per person per day, or about $5,000 per person for 5 days. KSPN learned that to get back to Saipan, Neil took a helicopter along with former chief prosecutor and her personal friend, Rosamund Santos. According to AmeriCopter staff, the price of a helicopter ride to and from Pagan ranges from $1,750 to $2,550 per hour. A round trip of 4 to 5 hours can cost anywhere from $8,750 to $10,200. The minimum travel time that must be paid for is 4 hours. AmeriCopter staff tell KSPN they transported government officials from Pagan to Saipan over the weekend. They say they didn't know the names of the individuals on board, but did say the trip was paid for by Cardinotech. Cardinotech is a private firm contracted by the military to perform environmental assessments. Neil did not respond to questions about how her helicopter trip was funded or what relationship she has, if any, with Cardinotech.
Governor Iloilo says he had to speak with the Attorney General about the prosecutor's trip to Pagan.
Well, I mean, the issue is one of ethical consideration. I mean, the AG feels that there's no ethical issues involved, and obviously there's the appearance of some ethical, potential ethical issues. But I mean, the AG is going to be the person that will make that decision, judgment as to whether there are any violations of ethical rules and stuff like that. I mean, what do you do between a prosecutor and an 18 hours of just being on the boat?
Will you talk to the AG about this?
I will talk to the AG.
And whatever he says, you're going to just...
No, I mean, I don't know.